My name is Rose. I'm 32 years old and work as a marketing manager at Pinnacle Marketing Group here in Denver. People have always told me I'm the dependable one, the responsible one, the one who would drop everything to help family. That's who I've always been, the rock, the fixer, the one who could be counted on. Family has always been my priority, the center of my universe. At least that's what I believed. I never thought I'd be standing outside the Willowbrook estate in Seattle at midnight, rain soaking through my clothes, staring at my phone, and wondering how everything had fallen apart so spectacularly. But that's where the story ends. Let me tell you how it begins. The first cracks appeared 3 years ago. My sister Ashley had just turned 25 and was celebrating her first 100,000 Instagram followers. Ashley has always been the golden child. Beautiful, charismatic, the one who lights up every room. At 27 now, she's still pursuing her influencer career. While I chose the conventional marketing path, our parents never tried to hide their preference. Your sister is special, Mom would say. She has that star quality people are drawn to. Dad would just nod along, never contradicting her, never standing up for me. That summer, Ashley came to me with wide eyes and grand plans. She needed $15,000 for a business opportunity that would totally transform her brand. It's an investment, Soph, she pleaded, her perfectly manicured hands clasping mine. I'll pay you back in 3 months tops. This collab is going to be huge. I believed her. I always did. I transferred the money that afternoon. 3 months came and went, then 6 meant a year. You know how these things go, Ashley would say whenever I brought it up. The industry is so unpredictable. Meanwhile, her Instagram showed weekend trips to Aspen, a new Gucci bag, dinner at restaurants where the menu had no prices. When I mentioned the loan during Sunday dinner, Mom's face hardened. Don't be petty, Sophia. Your sister is building something important. You're just jealous because you're stuck in a cubicle while she's living her dreams. Dad stared at his plate. This became our pattern. Ashley needed. I provided. Everyone forgot except me. Last November, things changed for years. Our family had taken an annual vacation together, a tradition started by my grandparents. We'd rent a lake house in Minnesota or a cabin in Colorado, somewhere we could all disconnect and just be together. It wasn't fancy, but it meant everything to me. Mom called me one evening as I was finishing work. We need to talk about vacation, she said, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. Things have been tight this year. Your father's business isn't doing well, and with Ashley trying to grow her platform, what are you saying? We can't afford the vacation this year. The fund is empty. The vacation fund was something we all contributed to monthly, $100 each, totaling for $800 annually among the four of us. I never missed a payment. What happened to the money? I asked. Life happened, Sophia. Bills, emergencies. Not everyone has the luxury of a stable corporate job. I felt the familiar sting but pushed past it. I can cover more. We don't need to cancel. No, Mom interrupted. We've decided maybe next year. I hung up, feeling hollow. Vacation was the one time I felt like a valued part of the family. Now even that was gone. A week later, our extended family gathered at the Oakwood Country Club for my cousin Emmer's law firm promotion. Emmer and I had always been close, both of us the responsible ones in our respective family branches. The dinner started pleasantly enough. Glasses clinked, conversations flowed, and for once I wasn't in Ashley's shadow as she arrived late with her boyfriend Chad, an investment banker with a slicked back hair and a smile that never reached his eyes. Then came the toasts after several family members spoke. Mom stood glass in hand. I want to toast my beautiful daughters, she began, her voice carrying across the table. Ashley, who continues to inspire thousands with her creativity and vision. Ashley beamed, her arm looped through Chad's. And Sophia, Mom continued, her smile tightening, who, well, has always been so frugal. Awkward laughter rippled through the table. In fact, Mom continued, glancing at me, Sophia was just asking about our family vacation fund. Always counting dollars. This on, more laughter, sharper now. Maybe if you contributed more than the minimum, we could afford that vacation you keep bringing up. The table fell silent. I felt 50 pairs of eyes on me, my cheeks burning. I'd never missed a payment to that fund. Never. Linder, my father murmured, too late and too quiet. I excused myself, walked calmly to my car, and sat there with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Through the restaurant window, I could see the dinner continuing without a hitch. Ashley was now the center of attention, probably sharing stories about her latest sponsorship deal. My phone buzzed, a text from Emmer. "Meet me outside now." Emmer stood by the entrance, her expression grim. "I saw something you need to know." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo she'd taken minutes earlier. Mom at the bar, discreetly paying with a credit card. The receipt was partially visible. Meridian Boutique, $3,600. "Isn't that where Ashley gets those dresses she's always tagging?" Emmer asked. It was. And Meridian Boutique wasn't just any store. It was a high-end designer outlet where nothing costs less than 4 figures. "The vacation fund isn't empty, is it?" I whispered. Emma squeezed my shoulder. "You deserve better than this, Sophia." That night, I couldn't sleep. For years, I'd accepted my role as the family afterthought, the reliable source of financial and emotional support who expected nothing in return. I'd convinced myself that's what family meant, sacrifice without recognition. But what if I'd been wrong all along? The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Instead of going to the office, I drove to my parents' house, knowing they'd both be out. I still had a key. I was the emergency contact. After all, their home was as familiar as my own. But now I moved through it like a detective, seeing everything with new eyes. In Dad's office, I found the family financial records neatly organized in a filing cabinet. Dad had always been meticulous about paperwork, if nothing else. The vacation fund statements confirmed what I'd suspected. The account wasn't empty at all. In fact, it had over $12,000 in it, but there were regular withdrawals. Plow 00 here, 800 there, all signed by my mother. I photographed everything with trembling hands. Then I found something else. A credit card statement showing a $7,500 charge to CWC Events. A quick Google search revealed it was an event planning company specializing in luxury birthday celebrations. Ashley's 29th birthday was in January, less than 2 months away. They were planning an extravagant party for Ashley while telling me we couldn't afford our family vacation using money I had contributed. I left everything as I'd found it and drove home in a daze. For the first time in my life, I felt something new stirring inside me. Not hurt, not disappointment, but cold, clear anger. That evening, Mom called as if nothing had happened. "Ashley needs help with her taxes," she said without preamble. "You're good with numbers. Can you come over this weekend?" I nearly laughed. "I'm busy this weekend." "Doing what?" The surprise in her voice was genuine. I rarely said no. "Just busy, Mom. This is important. Sophia, your sister's business is at a crucial stage." "So is mine," I said and hung up. What Mom didn't know, what none of them knew, was that while they dismissed me as the boring corporate drone, I'd been building something of my own 3 years ago. I'd started an Etsy shop called Cozy Creations, selling handcrafted home decor items I made on weekends. It began as a hobby, a creative outlet apart from my marketing job. But it had grown significantly. What started with simple hand-painted picture frames had evolved into a full line of custom home accessories that had been featured in several design blogs. I'd reinvested every penny of profit, expanding my product line and hiring 2 part-time assistants who worked from their homes. I'd never told my family about it. They'd never shown interest in my work life, and something made me keep this separate. Something that felt like self-preservation. Last year, I'd partnered with a small Denver restaurant, the Blue Oak Bistro, creating custom decor for their space in exchange for a small ownership stake. The restaurant had since been named one of Denver's top new dining spots, and my investment was now worth over $500,000. I'd also developed a customer relationship management tool specifically for small creative businesses, which I'd patented and licensed to a software company. The monthly royalties were modest, but growing steadily. My investment portfolio managed by a financial advisor I'd met through work had performed exceptionally well between my marketing salary, Etsy shop profits, restaurant partnership, and investment returns. I was worth just over $2 million, and my family had no idea. They still saw me as the reliable but unremarkable Sophia, always good for a loan or free tax preparation, never worthy of the spotlight in their narrative. I was the supporting character in Ashley's story. It was time to change that narrative. I spent the next week planning. This wasn't about revenge. At least, that's what I told myself. This was about truth, about finally being seen. First, I compiled all the evidence. Photographs of the financial records. Screenshots of Ashley's lavish Instagram posts juxtaposed with texts from my mother claiming financial hardship. Records of the money I'd loaned that was never repaid. Then I contacted a lawyer, not Emmer, who was too close to the situation, but a respected attorney at Morrison & Associates who specialized in financial fraud. I didn't necessarily plan to sue my family, but I wanted to understand my options. What you're describing, MS, Morrison said during our consultation, is a pattern of financial abuse. They've systematically exploited your generosity while deliberately misrepresenting their circumstances. The term abuse made me flinch. That was something that happened to other people, not to successful marketing managers with corner offices. You have grounds for a civil suit, she continued, but litigation can be lengthy and emotionally draining, especially with family. What is it you really want here, MS? Miller. I considered her question carefully. I want them to see me. Really see me, and I want them to face what they've done. MS. Morrison nodded. Then perhaps what you need isn't a lawsuit, but a reckoning. The plan took shape from there. I learned that the venue for Ashley's birthday extravaganza was the Belmont Plaza, one of Chicago's most exclusive event spaces. The party was planned for January 10th, and according to the invitation I'd accidentally received from a family friend, it would host over 150 guests. Perfect. I continued my normal routine in the weeks that followed. I went to Sunday dinners and listened to Ashley talk about her latest brand partnerships. I helped my father with computer problems and endured my mother's subtle jabs about my appearance, my job, my perpetual singleness. But inside, something had shifted. I was no longer hoping for their approval or wounded by their dismissal. I was simply gathering information, biding my time. Christmas came and went. I gave generous gifts as usual, a designer wallet for Ashley, an expensive bottle of scotch for Dad, a spar package for Mom. They gave me a coffee mug that said World's Best Sister and a $1.50 gift card to a chain restaurant. I smiled and thanked them warmly. New Year arrived, and with it final preparations for Ashley's birthday celebration. Mom called me daily with tasks. Pick up the custom napkins. Confirm the flower delivery. Help Ashley decide between photo backdrop options. You're so good at handling these details, Sophia. Mom would say Ashley needs to focus on the creative vision. I handled everything flawlessly, all while making my own arrangements. January 10th arrived. The Belmont Plaza was transformed into Ashley's fantasy world, all white and gold with thousands of twinkling lights and enormous floral arrangements. The guest list included extended family, Ashley's followers turned friends, and several minor celebrities she'd collaborated with. I arrived early to help with setup, dressed in a simple black dress that Mom had previously described as sensible, just like you. I had a small rolling suitcase, which I explained contained emergency supplies for any last-minute party disasters. Always prepared, Mom said with a pat on my arm. What would we do without you? An hour before guests were set to arrive, I excused myself to freshen up and slipped into a bathroom with my suitcase. When I emerged 20 minutes later, Mom nearly dropped the champagne flute she was holding. I wore a stunning gown from Meridian Boutique, the same store where she'd spent $3,600 of the vacation fund, but mine was from their exclusive collection, a breathtaking creation in deep emerald that cost considerably more. My hair, usually pulled back in a practical ponytail, fell in soft waves around my shoulders. The makeup artist I'd hired had transformed my face, highlighting cheekbones I didn't know I had. Sophia, Mom's voice was faint. "What is this?" "Just thought I'd make an effort for once," I said lightly. "It's a special occasion, right?" She recovered quickly. "Well, it's certainly different. Just don't overshadow your sister. It's her night." "I wouldn't dream of it," I replied. Guests began to arrive. I circulated smoothly, greeting relatives and friends with warm smiles. Many did double takes, not immediately recognizing me in my transformed state. "Wow, Sophia, you look amazing," my cousin Emma said, embracing me. "What's the occasion?" "Clarity," I replied. "Long overdue clarity." The evening progressed according to the carefully orchestrated schedule. Dinner was served, champagne flowed, and Ashley held court at the center table, resplendent in a custom-made white gown that I knew had cost $5,000. I'd seen the charge on Dad's credit card statement. Then came time for the speeches. Dad went first, his voice breaking as he called Ashley the light of our lives. Mom followed, declaring that Ashley was destined for greatness and that supporting her dreams was the best investment we've ever made. Several of Ashley's influencer friends gave gushing testimonials about her authenticity and creative vision. Chad, her boyfriend, delivered a rehearsed speech about Ashley's entrepreneurial spirit that sounded suspiciously like something from a business seminar. Finally, the MC announced, and now a few words from Ashley's sister, Sophia. This wasn't on the program. I'd added it myself that afternoon, slipping a note to the event coordinator with a generous tip to ensure it happened. The spotlight found me as I walked to the small stage. I could see confusion on Ashley's face, alarm on my mother's. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my sister," I began, my voice steady. "Family means everything to me, as many of you know, and family should be built on honesty, on trust, on mutual support." I paused, scanning the room. Most guests were smiling politely, expecting the usual platitudes. That's why tonight is so important, because tonight isn't just about celebrating Ashley. It's about celebrating truth. I nodded to a staff member in the back who had been well compensated for his cooperation. The lights dimmed and a projection screen lowered behind me. For years, I've been told a story about my place in this family. Tonight, I'd like to share that story with all of you along with some details that have been omitted. The first slide appeared, a text message from my mother from December 1st. "We're so broke. No vacation this year." Ashley's new heels were $1,200. Allure. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ashley's eyes widened. Mom half rose from her seat. For those who don't know, our family has a tradition of taking a vacation together every year. We all contribute to a fund monthly, or at least some of us do. The next slide showed the vacation fund account statement with my regular deposits highlighted in yellow, followed by withdrawals signed by my mother. This year I was told we couldn't afford our vacation, that the fund was empty. That was on November 20th. The next slide showed the receipt Emmer had photographed at the Oakwood Country Club. This is from November 20th, the same day. A $3,600 charge at Meridian Boutique, paid with the vacation fund card. The room had fallen completely silent now. I could see Ashley whispering frantically to Chad, my father staring at the floor, my mother's face drained of color. "But wait," I continued, "there's more." For the next 10 minutes, I methodically presented the evidence I'd gathered. The $15,000 loan to Ashley that was never repaid. The credit card statements showing extravagant spending while claiming financial hardship. Text messages where my mother and sister laughed about how gullible I was. "You may be wondering why I'm doing this," I said, my voice now soft. "It's not for revenge. It's because I deserve better. We all deserve better than relationships built on lies." The final slide appeared, the logo for Cozy Creations alongside press coverage of my products, financial statements showing my company's worth, and documentation of my other investments. While I was being dismissed as the boring sister with the conventional job, I built this. My company now generates over $800,000 in annual revenue. My net worth currently stands at just over $2 million. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. I could see shock on every face, but none more than my family's. "I never shared this with you because, frankly, you never asked. You were too busy crafting the narrative of Ashley the star and Sophia the supporter. too busy using me while pretending I had nothing valuable to offer. I took a deep breath. So, here's what happens now. I'm done financing the lies. I've instructed my attorney to send formal documentation regarding the 15,000 loan, which with interest now totals over 18,000. I'll also be seeking reimbursement for my contributions to the vacation fund that were misappropriated, totaling 5,200. Mom finally found her voice. Sophia, stop this. You're embarrassing yourself. No, Mom. For the first time in my life, I'm not embarrassing myself. I'm standing in my truth. Ashley stood now, tears streaking her perfect makeup. How could you do this on my birthday? How could I? How could you? How could all of you? My voice finally broke. I love you. I would have given you anything if you'd just been honest. If you'd valued me even a fraction as much as I valued you. Dad approached the stage, his face ashen. Sweetheart, please, can we discuss this privately? We've had years to discuss it privately. Dad hears of me trying to talk to you, of you staring at your plate or changing the subject. Now we're doing it my way. I turned back to the stunned crowd. Thanked you all for coming to what turned out to be a very different kind of celebration. The bar will remain open, and I've paid for an additional hour of the venue rental. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. With that, I stepped down from the stage and walked through the parted crowd toward the exit. No one tried to stop me. As I reached the door, I heard Emma's voice behind me. Sophia, wait. She caught up to me in the hallway, her expression a mix of shock and admiration. That was, I don't even have words. Was it too much? I asked, suddenly uncertain. Emma shook her head. It was exactly enough and long overdue. She hugged me tightly. But now, I pulled back and smiled. A real smile. Perhaps my first in months. Now I start over on my terms. Outside, the January air was bitingly cold, but I barely felt it. My phone was already buzzing with messages, family members, friends, people who'd witnessed what just happened. I turned it off. The driver I'd arranged was waiting. Airport, Miss Miller. Yes, please. I had a one-way ticket to Seattle, where I'd leased office space for Cozy Creations expansion, a fresh start in a new city, far from the shadows of my past. The fallout was both swift and extensive. By morning, Ashley had lost over 50,000 followers as clips of my presentation circulated on social media. Apparently, authenticity influencers weren't supposed to secretly mock their supporters or defraud their families. My mother called 37 times before I blocked her number. My father sent a single text. I failed you. I'm sorry. Too little, too late. Emma kept me updated on the family drama. Mom and Dad were fighting constantly. Ashley and Chad broke up when he realized her brand partnerships weren't as lucrative as she'd claimed. Extended family members were taking sides, with most expressing shock at how I'd been treated. The lawsuit proceeded, though I had no illusion about ever seeing that money again. It wasn't about the funds. It was about the formal acknowledgement of what had been done. 3 months after the Belmont Plaza revelation, I stood outside the Willowbrook estate in Seattle at midnight, rain soaking through my clothes, staring at my phone. The text was from Ashley. I'm in Seattle. Need to see you, please. I hadn't spoken to my sister since that night, hadn't responded to her increasingly desperate messages or acknowledged the stilted apology video she posted for her dwindling follower count. But something made me agree to meet her. Perhaps some last vestige of the person I used to be, the one who always said yes, who always tried to fix things. She was waiting in the lobby, smaller somehow, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater instead of her usual designer outfit. When she saw me, she stood awkwardly, hands fidgeting at her sides. Thanks for coming, she said. I nodded but didn't embrace her. Why are you here, Ashley? I got a job, she said, the words seeming foreign in her mouth, at Target in Denver. It's just retail, but it's something. Congratulations, I said, meaning it. I'm staying with Emma until I can afford my own place. She swallowed hard. Mom and Dad are getting divorced. I absorbed this without comment. I came to give you this. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000. It's just a start for the loan. I'm going to pay it all back. I promise. The old Saphir would have torn up the check, would have hugged her sister and said it didn't matter. But I wasn't that person anymore. Thank you, I said, tucking the envelope into my purse. I appreciate that. Do you think we could ever be okay again? Her voice was small, childlike. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the perfect features that had always garnered her attention, I saw something new. Vulnerability, fear, perhaps even genuine remorse. I don't know, Ashley. That depends on whether you're finally ready to see me as I am, not as who you needed me to be. I see you now, she whispered. I should have seen you all along. We sat in the lobby for hours talking more honestly than we ever had before. I didn't promise forgiveness or a quick resolution. Some wounds were too deep for that, but I did promise to try to see if there was anything worth salvaging from the wreckage of our relationship. As dawn broke over Seattle, casting pale light through the lobby windows, I realized something important. In freeing myself from the role I'd been assigned, I'd also freed Ashley from hers. Without the golden child pedestal, without the endless enablement, she finally had the chance to discover who she really was. My phone buzzed with a calendar alert, a meeting with potential investors for Cozy Creations' new product line. Life moving forward on my terms. I have to go, I told Ashley. I have a business to run. She nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. You're good at it. Really good. I saw the article in Business Insider. The fact that she'd sought out information about my work, that she'd taken an interest without being prompted. It was a small thing, but it felt significant. We parted without promises, without platitudes, just two women acknowledging a shared past while standing on the threshold of very different futures. As I walked into my new office an hour later, my assistant handed me a coffee and a stack of messages. Big day today, MS. Miller, she said brightly. Yes, I agreed, looking out at the Seattle skyline. A new beginning. The truth had cost me my family as I knew it, but it had given me something far more valuable. Myself, wholly and completely. No more shadows, no more supporting roles, no more sacrifice without recognition. Just Sopner Miller, finally the protagonist of her own story. Thank you so much for listening to this story. Please let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the Azad Revenge Stories channel, like this video, and hit the hype button to help these stories reach more people. Thanks to all.